so now we're going to look at a change of paces. Everything we've been able to do so far has been on the based around the premise that we've been able to elevate our partners on top of us to some degree, right? Now we're going to be looking at a cagey opponent who kind of disengages, and it's very hard for me to elevate them. All right, so a lot of what we're going to be doing now is using 2-on-1s to threaten attacks on submissions on my partner. If she takes collar ties and she's playing a game where she takes a collar tie but then she disengages, or she's posting on my head, for example, and just pushing away, pushing my shoulders, she's shoving my shoulders backwards, doing everything she can to not engage. We're going to be looking at how to deal with an opponent who does those kinds of stalling tactics where they look active like they're hand fighting, but they're not really they don't really have the intention of actually coming forward to pass my guard. All right, so it's always pulling, pushing, and looking to go into various other attacks that eventually set up the sumigeshis. Okay, so we're going to look at that now. Right, so this time, instead of being able to elevate our partner, we've looked at basic elevations from collar ties and what have you. This time, instead of elevating my partner, this time she takes a collar tie on me, for example, and maybe every time I go to elevate my partner, she just immediately pushes away and she strips the collar tie. So as I go, this happens. Just stop. As I go, she goes to push away, and you slide off your partner's body, and you end up in a position where you can't elevate your partner. Whenever I see this, she goes collar tie, I take a collar tie, like so, and I take an elbow tie on my partner, okay? The elbow tie is a very specific tie where my palm faces up and we catch right underneath our partner's elbow. What this will do is it will make it very hard for your partner to retract the elbow to the rib cage. Go ahead, like so, okay? I need to make sure that I have both the elbow tie and the collar tie, because now if I don't have the collar tie and she can move away from me, now she can straighten the arm and then it slips off at the elbow. So I need to keep a bend in the arm by having the head close to mine. So I put her head on my front deltoid, in front of my shoulder here, and I take an elbow tie like so. So now as she goes to straighten that arm and pull the elbow away, it's impossible. As she goes to bring the elbow down to her own rib cage, that's also impossible. If I go over with an over tie, now she goes to take the arm down, it's useless. Okay? So we come in, she takes a collar tie. Instead of elevating, I just glue my partner's forehead right to my front deltoid, and I take a grip here on my partner's elbow. Now I post a grip on my partner's waist like so. From this position, we start to go into a hizaguruma, where we put our partner's hand on the floor by kicking the knee out. Now there's weight over the hand. Once the hand goes to the floor, we take our foot and we monitor the inside of our partner's bicep. Once again, when she goes to pull away, now it's even more hard because there's a hip post here and she can't get her shoulders over her hips. And once again, we just use that connection through the collar tie and the elbow to pull ourselves in. We lock a trap triangle, and then as we know, we pivot off the shoulder, we lock up, and we get a strong Senkaku win for the finish. Okay? So she goes in, she takes collar tie, we go elbow tie and collar tie. And if we go collar tie and the head we're head to head with our partner, and she goes to pull away, it's much easier. So I glue the forehead to my own shoulder. When she goes to pull away now, it's impossible. We go hip post on the same side as the trapped arm, hizaguruma, we get the hand to the floor. And then now we use that weightless leg to fire our legs into place and go into attacks with the triangle. Okay, so she takes a collar tie on me. From here, we go in collar tie and elbow tie. We go post in the hip. When she goes to move around and disconnect, it's not an easy thing. Try to get up. It's not easy from here. Now once that hand goes to the ground, so it's easy now to come through and fire up into all of our various attacks right from there. Okay, so that's one way to counter a collar tie when we can't elevate our partner. Alright, so another good entrance here that we can hit is with a different, my partner has the same collar tie, but this time instead of using our own collar tie, we use an over tie. Okay? Where from here, she goes to take a collar tie on me. Instead of using a collar tie like so, we use an over tie instead. where from here we connect our partner's ear to our own shoulder, and now we come in and we take an over tie on our partner. Now keep in mind, this is just another grip variation where we can come in, start to elevate our partner, and go into all those attacks. So this isn't just limited to when my partner is moving out and away from me. Okay, she can go collar ties, I can go over tie, I can use this to pass the arm by, I can go to our 2-on-1 Russian, I can use this to go in and switch to the 2-on-1 elbow. I can do all kinds of different variations with this. All right, so this is just another gripping variation that we can use to go in and elevate our partner. All right, but for this example here, we're using it to enter into a juji when our partner denies us the ability to elevate her. So she goes in, we go over tie. Now from this position, we want to look to take our partner's ear and touch it to our own shoulder. If my partner's head is on the center line and I take an over tie here, when she goes to pull that arm out, it's down first, it comes out easily. She can always take her arm down and away from me. But when I take that ear to my partner's shoulder, now when she goes to pull the arm down, it's difficult. The reason being, as I pull her elbow in this direction, I push my head against her arm in the opposite direction. And because her ear is glued to her own shoulder, this aids me in the ability to push her shoulder out as I push her hand out with my head and pull her elbow in. So the joint here and the joint here are being pushed out in this direction. Okay? And at the same time, I'm pulling this joint towards me. So you have a wedge all the way around, starting from the long end of the lever to the middle to the top. Okay? So from here, if I just go in and take an over tie with a random grip, I can put as much pressure as I want. When she goes to pull the elbow down, it comes out right away. Now, I glue the ear to the shoulder. When she goes to pull that elbow out, it's very, very difficult. Now, from here, we're going to go in and post our foot on our partner's hip. We come through, and as we go to sit, we're going to look to bring ourselves into a perpendicular position. Everything we've been doing so far, most of the time, has been elevating with our partner center line to line. So we're going to misalign the center lines, and then all in one motion, we're going to shoot our hips up so that our knee comes above our partner's ear. Only when our knee is above our partner's ear will we not lose the juji. If at any point our knee is below our partner's ear, she can just posture up and rip out. So you get our knee above our partner's ear. So even with no grips, when she stands up, shake me off, the arm will never come out. The second that knee slips below the ear, the arm will come out every time. Okay? So she takes an over tie or collar tie. I take an over tie, and we catch. Now from here, we can go 1 or 2 feet on the hips. So when she goes to come forwards into me, she can't. Now from here, all in one motion, I'm just going to take my foot off the hip, and I give a big pendulum with my left leg, and we catch. When she goes to pull her arm out, it's very difficult. Now we can go into all of our finishes right from there. Okay, so she comes in, she goes collar tie, we go over tie, catch, ear to shoulder. Let me take a grip over our partner's elbow like so. Now we start coming in, we start posting on our partner's hips. From this position, as we go to slide in, what I don't want is for someone greased up with no foot on the hips to just rip the arm down and body lock me right away. That's no good because she has the inside hand position relative to my over tie. So I always make sure I first put a foot in the hip. So if she does have grease on and rips that arm out and goes to body lock me, I can always have the inside position. I go foot to the hip initially, and now as I go to fall, the foot comes off, and that pendulum is what takes me up and over. Okay? She goes collar tie, I go over tie. From this position, we go foot to the hip, and now as we fall, we catch. Now we're ready to go in to all of our attacks. All right, so once again, when in doubt, enter the legs. Your partner pulls out of the attacks from the upper body, and the legs are always there. So regardless of what we're looking at, whether it's the juji or whether it's the juji or the triangle, doesn't make a difference. Your partner pulls that arm out. Your partner pulls that arm out. And now we immediately go into the legs. So we take the inside knee positioning. What we don't want is for her to just push my legs by. Now I lost everything and get my guard pass off my own submission. So I take the inside knee positioning relative to her knee. Now I put my shoelaces as close as I can to my partner's leg. When she goes to crush me from this position, because that inside knee position, it's impossible. Now we're going to take our left leg, in this case, and fire it over and come up onto the point of our shoulder. Now, when she goes to crush me, I own all the inside real estate. Now, her only chance from here to not get put into a bad spot is by keeping her knee on the floor. Okay? When she can keep her knee on the floor and her heel relatively close to her butt, she's winning this battle. So what I do is I take a grip here on my partner's heel, and I open her foot in an arc in this direction towards my head. So her foot will draw a line on the mat from the heel to my head. When she goes to resist from here, you always win that battle. And now from here, there's a variety of things that you can do. You can start pulling your partner into ashigaramis, X guards, whatever you want from there. And that's more of a leg lock instructional, but I just wanted to, have it in your mind to enter to the legs. So you enter into either one of these attacks. Your partner goes to pull the upper body away. We scoop the leg. We take the knee to the inside position. From here, she goes to crush me. It's just so difficult. I always have that free leg now to pendulum come off of my back and onto the point of my shoulder. There's no back exposure. When she goes to take your back, that inside knee will stop her. Now, she goes to keep that heel into the butt. I don't pull in any given direction. I pull specifically in an arc ranging from the heel to my head. She goes to keep a strong body. We easily get our legs in place. And now from here, we're ready to go in and go into all of our various attacks. So the upper body pulls away, we switch back to the legs. Oh, also, and I forgot, same concept, triangle. She stands up, same thing. We come in here, now we're ready to go. So whether she's on her knees or standing, we enter into the legs as the upper body pulls out and away. All right, so now we're gonna deal with a partner who's just shoving shoulders, posting on my head, just doing everything to be annoying, but not really doing anything, okay? So she takes a post to my shoulder, for example, and we go in, we take a 2-on-1 up grip. She takes a post to my head, for example, we take a 2-on-1 up grip. The second we get a 2-on-1 up grip, we immediately go into an elevation. Okay, so she's playing this cagey game where I can't get it elevated, I can't get any grips that I want, and the second she goes to take a post on my head or my shoulders, we immediately come in, and as we're putting the grip in place, we elevate our partner up, and we go into any one of the previous attacks that we looked at. Okay, so we come in, we're playing this hand fighting game, we can't get any grips, she's posting, or I'm trying to come forward, I'm moving towards her, and she's moving back away from me, she's just posting. The second I see that, we immediately go in, and now we're into our partner's legs or upper body. Okay, so I'm coming forward, she's moving away from me, she's posting, the legs are back far and away from me, I feel she's posting, and once I get that grip, I immediately come in, and we go in and take our partner up in the air. It has to be instinctual. The second she goes post on my head, she's posting, she's pushing my head, she goes 1, 2, 3, she goes to the head, she goes 1, she goes 2, and then the third one, we get our partner up, and then we go into all of our attacks. Okay? So using a 2-on-1 up grip right away to get our partner up in the air and into a quick elevation when she's not really doing anything to engage. All right, so this time, again, we're playing with a very cagey, disengaging, stalling opponent, and we've managed to get a brief 2-on-1, but our partner sits their weight far back and away from us. They move the hips back. Usually this means that I can't elevate them. Okay, the most common thing when I get a 2-on-1 and I can't elevate my partner is for the hips to be back, okay, and away from me. All right, but when the legs are away from us, the upper body's always here. So we take a post to my partner's hip, we hit a Hizaguruma action to get our hand to the floor, and once again, we come through and we post and we get a grip on our initial lock on the triangle, and we go into attacks right off of that. Okay, so we've seen multiple triangle entrances today. We've seen from a shoulder crunch and some other spots. Now we're looking at a 2-on-1 elbow to go into a triangle. We've seen initially setups from where my partner's hips are on top of mine, and we forward shift to get up, and then we go into triangles. We've looked at situations where she has a collar tie on me, and we go into triangles, and now we're looking at a 2-on-1 elbow, where we come in to get to a 2-on-1 elbow, and our hips are moving back and away from mine. Because the legs aren't there, the upper body's always there. So we take a post to my partner's hip. From here, we put a Hizaguruma action in to get our hand to the floor, and then we monitor the bicep. And now, as we go to hit this race here, you know, pull our partner in, shoot to an angle, and then going for the win with a Senkaku, the triangle. All right, some more combination work here. So what everyone does to avoid a triangle is they take their head way offline, okay? Whenever I hit an arm drag, my goal is to get my partner's head offline. When I go to hit this initial triangle from this 2-on-1, what people do is, as you go to shoot the triangle, the head moves far and away, so that I shoot over the shoulder a lot of times. Now you can go into omoplatas, or you can go into a different kind of jujis. A lot of times your partner ends up with a scoop grip and uses it to start trying to pass or guard. Things can go south from here, okay? So what I'm gonna look to do is, the second I take this 2-on-1, we get our partner's hand to the floor, and this time we go to shoot the triangle in place. I see that it's not going to be able to go, I'm not going to be able to capture my partner's head and arm all in one shot. She moves the head far away. Whenever I see this, we immediately come through and we switch back to an arm drag grip. Okay, because now my partner's head's already offline. She's doing the work for me. I didn't have to take her head offline with the drag. She took it offline for me because she's fighting the dilemma of head on the center line, where she gets triangled here, or head offline, or she gets dragged here. And now she has a choice. She can bring her head towards me, and if she comes towards me, she goes into an elevation. Or she can continue to pull away from me, and as she goes to pull away, now I come up and create back exposure, which is what we're going to do, look at it in depth next. Okay? We play a dilemma of head online and head offline. She's playing a cagey game. I managed to get to a 2-on-1. Okay? Whether she grabs my wrist or whatever the case is, I managed to get to a 2-on-1 elbow and go into a Hizaguruma and start to go into a triangle. If she keeps her head where it is and it's relatively on the center line, triangle's easy. If she moves her head offline, now from here her head's offline, and we just come forwards and go right into a drag. And now she has a choice. From here, if she comes towards me, elevation's easy. You can even switch to Yoko Senkaku if you want to and enter into the legs. Because she's so far away from you, I can take my leg to the outside. Where now she goes to come drive towards me, we can enter into our partner's legs. Or she moves away from me, in which case she gives me her back, and now I'm up on her back. So if she comes towards me, we go into all the previous moves where we can enter into our partner's legs or upper body. If she moves away from me and continues to take the head offline, she essentially just turns her back to you, and then you come up and you take her back, you attack from turtle, which you shouldn't have had to do. You take her back, which you shouldn't have had to finish from there, and then we get our win with submission. All right, so now we're gonna look at arm dragging when we can get a grip on our partner, but we can't elevate them. Okay, so most of the time, there's a couple different ways that this can happen. We take a drag grip, and our partner just backs the hips away, thinking that you're going to elevate her. And as she moves the hips out and away from you, she leans forward and she just allows you to drag. Okay. Another common situation is we get a drag grip in here. We pull the arm across, and as your partner goes to pull away and posture up and bring the shoulders over the hips, he pulls me up into her, and I can get behind and get to the far hip. Another great way to do it is to stay seated from here, where I come in and I use a hizaguruma action to pull the hand, to get the hand to the floor, and I turn belly down like so. Okay, so all are pretty good options. Let's take a look at the first one. I go in for a drag. She moves the legs back and away. This one's pretty easy because she's leaning all of her weight forward, so it's easy to drag from here. You pull the hand across the center line, and from here, as I go to drag, when I drag, I always drag up high by the armpit. I never drag down low by the elbow. When you go down low by the elbow, you get a lot of slippage problems. Okay, so when you go down by the elbow, she pulls out and away, and the arm slips out. So I go up by the armpits. Now when she goes to pull out, it's not an easy thing. Now as I go to, she backs the leg away. As I go to drag, I turn my chest down towards the floor. Here. Where now I have weight over my partner, and I have a wedge behind my partner's tricep. I look in the same direction she's looking. When she goes to pull that arm out, it's not easy. And now from here, I get to my partner's far hip. We're always looking for diagonal control. We have control of my partner's right shoulder. We need control over the right hip, over the left hip. If my partner's fast and I go to come up from here and I have no control over my partner's far hip and she circles, you can never drag from here. And now you can actually get re-dragged. Get your own back taken. It's no good. So our whole fight is to get to that far hip. So she goes to back everything away. We come in and we put weight over the arm and we get our head pointing, looking in the same direction as hers. Now we immediately go to our partner's far hip. So now if she stays here, obviously we just pull ourselves up, we heist, and we're ready to go. If she goes to scramble away, she pulls me up. Go ahead. Circle. She pulls me up. Now we're ready to go to attack turtle. Okay, so that's the first great option. She backs the legs away, and it's pretty easy from there because she leans all of her weight forward and she puts herself into the position where I want her to be, which is hips back, shoulders forward, and we're ready to go. Okay, so that's the first instance where we use a drag to enter into our partner's back. All right, now let's take a look at the next two. All right, so another great option we have from here is to use the hizaguruma action, where we go in and get a drag grip where our partner's playing kind of cagey, and we just go in and take a quick drag, and we put our partner's hand down on the floor. From here, I take my action leg, which was on my partner's knee, and I take it to the center. So that now I can take my left leg to the outside, and as I drag, I again turn everything down towards the floor, like so. Okay, you see the connection here between the hizaguruma and the first one, where the first situation, she moves her hips away, and her shoulders now are well in front of her hips, and that makes it easy to drag. The hizaguruma is doing the same thing, except for now, we can either go foot to the hip and go in, or we can keep a foot on the inside. Both are very good. Here, or here. Now once again, her hips are back and her shoulders are forward. Everything from here remains almost the same. Foot comes to the inside, foot comes to the outside. And now as I drag, everything turns down. And now we're in the same spot we just were. If she stays here, I pull myself up by heisting, left foot on the ground, right knee comes out. Now I have our partner's back. Or if she's smart and goes to circle away, she pulls me up, and now we're on our partner's back. Okay, so it'll look something like this. Having a hard time making a grip on our partner, we finally do. We get to a drag, and now we're either here or here. The second we go to drag, that's a remove to. So it goes from my right foot goes from the knee to the inside, and my left foot goes from the inside to the outside. Now When she goes to posture up and pull that arm out, when she goes to circle away, we're always up and ready to go. All right, so that's the second one. Let's take a look at the third option now. All right, so now third option, we come in and my partner's hips are directly underneath her shoulders this time. So I go in, I attempt to drag. This time my partner gives me such a pullback reaction where I just use this to pull myself up. So I take my feet to the outside, I'm trying to get my partner's shoulders in front of the hips, but she yanks away so hard that I take the inside knee position this time, okay? So instead of having my inside foot and being out to an angle, I take an inside knee position and I just allow my partner's pullback reaction to pull me up, okay? So this time I go in for a drag. As she goes to pull away, left foot comes out, right foot comes out, and right knee goes inside. And now as she goes to pull away from me, I just come up, and now I'm on my partner's far hip. Now wherever she chooses to go, ready to go in and attack our partner from the rear, okay? So we're flying in, she's playing cagey upright, she won't let me elevate her. We come in, the second I get a drag, she goes to hit a pullback, and we're up, and we're ready to go. Okay, so 3 great options. 1, we go into a drag, she moves away. We come in. 2, we go Hizaguruma. And 3, we come up to get behind our partner, and we're in with 3 good arm drags to come up and get winning positions to attack our partner's back when we feel as we can't, like we can't elevate them. All right, so now we're going to start moving into an opponent who steps the leg up. All right. First, we're going to go into how to enter into Ashigarami correctly, into a straight Ashigarami when the partner has a leg up, and then we're going to go into gripping sequences that would force your partner to step a leg up, okay, or they just do it willingly. Partner steps the leg up. First thing we're going to look to do, if we have no grips, we're just going to come in and we're going to catch one end of the short lever and down here at the long end of the lever. Where we just go in and we catch 1, 2. No amount of hand strength will hold your partner's leg in place for any amount of time. You can catch, and then eventually she's going to be able to just kick the leg back and push off. So what I have to do is don't think about controlling your partner's legs with your hands. Think about using your hands as an intermediary step to get a wedge behind your partner's leg so you can control your partner's legs with your own leg. So we catch 1, 2 false grips, 90-degree bend in the wrist, 1, 2, where we just go in, fast hands, we catch. Now we use 2 heels to slide in, and get a knee behind our partner's hamstring. Now when she goes to kick that leg back, it's impossible. When she goes to push on my shoulders and kick that leg away from me, it's not an easy thing. And now from here, we pull our partner towards us, and we fall into position, ready to go. Okay, so this would be the premise of all of our standard Ashigarami entrances against an opponent with 1 leg up. So she steps a leg up. The second I see this, we immediately just come in, boom. Come in, and now we scoot in and we get a knee behind our partner's hamstring as soon as we can. Now when she goes to kick away from me, we can easily go into all of our attacks. So I'm playing the hand fighting game, she steps the leg up, we're ready to go right into all of our finishes and sweeps, etc. from there. Okay, so that's just basics: entering, 2 hands on, and getting a knee behind. The knee behind is important. I can't expect to grab my partner's leg and pull her in. As she goes to kick the leg back, so you're always going to lose it. So first, I come to her. Now I have a wedge behind. Now when she goes to kick back, I bring her now to me with the knee, not the hands. This is super important. All right, so let's put this more now in a more combat realistic situation where I'm making grips with my partner, and in order to avoid getting elevated or swept, she steps the leg up. Okay? So now this time, let's say I make a 2-on-1, and I'm threatening to start elevating my partner. I'm threatening to start passing my partner's arm by, and she steps the leg up to avoid me entering into her legs right away, or me elevating her. Maybe I'm trying to pull her into me and she steps the leg up and she's pushing back and she's using that to pull away from me. Right? Let's say I'm going into a drag maybe. I try to drag and she steps the leg up. And now from here, I can't go around to my partner's back. Right? If I try to come and take my partner's back now, as I try to come around, she can just knee slice through and go to 3/4 mount. And now I end up mounted. Okay, so there's a bunch of good positions here where she can score through stepping the leg up. If she steps the leg up on a drag, like we just said, now as I go to drag, come around the corner, she just slides to 3/4 mount, and that's not good for me. So there's a bunch of different situations where she would want to step a leg up. But you have to understand, when she does that, you can always enter into your partner's legs. Okay? So we have either 2-on-1 elbow, and now she gets to step a leg up. We have drag. She steps the leg up. We have the 2-on-1 wrist, where I go to elevate my partner. She steps the leg up and goes to pull back and away from me. We have a downward facing 2-on-1, where I'm trying to pull her in and get to a 2-on-1 elbow. She goes to step the leg up. Any of these will give me that's my cue to start going into my partner's legs from here. Okay, so initially we go in, we catch 1, 2. We catch 1. She goes to pull away. I let her pull the upper body away. 2. She goes to pull away. I let her pull the upper body away. 1, 2. And all we have to do is pull ourselves in and get that knee behind our partner. And now from here, she goes to explode away from me or go to crush me. You can always get our legs into place and enter into our partner's legs. So more combinations now. We have someone out in front of us. We're playing here. We're playing with 2-on-1s. We're playing with a collar tie maybe. I'm going to pull her in. She steps the leg up. And we're in to our partner's leg. I take a 2-on-1 or an arm drag. I go to start dragging. She steps the leg up. And the second you see this leg come up, we immediately let the drag go. We put our knee behind. We shoot into place. Saw this a lot with Buchecha and the finals of the Absolute, using drags to enter into the Ashigaramis. Okay? So whenever we have 2-on-1s or collar ties or any of the gripping that we looked at before, and our partner steps the leg up to start pulling herself away, we can always enter into that leg with an Arimi Ashigurami and go right into our attacks from there. And of course, all the X-Guard and Ashigurami attacks will be in the supine edition. All right, so now back to Yoko Sumigashi's. All right, before we looked at our partner coming in and getting a leg in like so. Now we were in a position like so. So now from here, she went to go kick that leg back, and as she went to go bring it back in, that leg is weightless now. Okay, so the leg is not technically off the ground like her leg is stepped up completely, but her leg was weightless and off the ground. All right, if I go, just sit back on your heels. If I try to elevate her from here, it's not impossible, but it's hard against a bigger person. So I wait for her to try to start passing my guard, and as she does, she kicks back, she fails. Now as she comes forwards into me, that leg is still weightless, so it's technically up off the ground. And as she goes to plant that knee once again, that's when the elevation comes through, and we can enter into attacks on our partner. Okay? This time it's a little bit easier because your partner has the leg completely stepped up. So she steps the leg up. And now from here, we can go into drags and we can start entering into our partner's legs. Okay? So we can come in, and as we scoot, we catch. This time we're going to catch a grip on our partner's leg because now we're legs up. So we grab a grip on the ankle. And now we use this Yoko Sumigashi. Instead of this time going into a cross Ashigurami, this time because we have our partner's leg up in the air right from the beginning, we can sweep right overhead. Follow our partner through and backstep into cross Ashigurami or move to side control, for example, which we'll look at in a second. So she steps the leg up. So I go for a drag, for example. She steps the leg up. And now from here, I'm just going to scoot in. As I scoot, we start to lift, and I make a transition to my partner's ankle. So now as we lift our partner up and over, we can either enter into cross hashi right here, or if we take our partner up and over, we can follow her and take a back step and enter into cross hashi on the opposite side. We can also enter into side control on the opposite side. We go to drag, she steps that leg up, and from here, we just come through, and our leg, instead of back stepping into the legs, we just pommel the leg to the outside and step into a side control. Okay, so this time, she steps the leg up, and we can use drags to enter into various sweeps this time or submissions. If the leg is down, it's hard to take her right overhead. Okay, what's much easier is to look at entering my partner's legs. So as she goes to base, initially with that hand out in the upper right quadrant, I take my partner up, and the lift isn't as drastic. Okay, because now the momentum won't take her completely over unless she chooses to fall over. Whereas if the leg's stepped up and she's giving me her weight, it's much easier to take my partner all the way through because I'm not starting by having to pull her hips way off the ground on top of me. Her hips are already well towards me, way off the ground. That sweep, I get a lot of momentum here when I kick my partner over because her hips are already so high off mine. Where if her knee's on the floor, now I have to start back here and I have to pull my partner on top of me. Whereas here, as I go to lift, I can easily take her up and over for an easy sweep all the way through. Okay, that's the difference between a leg up and a leg down. With a leg down, when she goes to shoot past my guard, for example, and I go to a drag, I have to really get underneath her first. Okay, so lift isn't going to be as strong. So as she goes to kick out, she goes to come back in. That's when I go for my elevation. But it's not nearly as strong as already having the leg up. Okay. Now let's say this time we come in. I take a 2-on-1 on my partner, and she steps a leg up. I can come through, and I can either go into my partner's legs on this side, as we talked about. Keep your head relatively in the middle. So you're trying to pull back and away from me. This time I can come in, I can go Yoko Sumigishi on the opposite side. So I can come through, I can pull my partner in, and now when she gets to post that hand in the upper quadrant, she can. So when she steps the leg up, I can go to the opposite side. Let's say I take a 2-on-1 on either one of my partner's arms. She goes to step that leg up, and now from here, if her head moves out and away from me, we enter the legs. If we try to enter the legs and she comes towards me, no problem. We can take our foot across, and now from here we can go into Yoko Sumigishi, where as she goes to take her head in to avoid and kick this leg back maybe, we take our partner up and over with a Yoko Sumigishi. Okay? So there's many things that we can do from here when our partner steps the leg up. She's in front of me. She steps the leg up. And once again, if she steps the leg up and we can get underneath her, we can always just elevate right away. Okay? This time, we feel like we can't elevate her, so we come in and we hit a Yoko Sumigishi, and now she has a choice. She can continue to pull away from me, in which case I can go right into her legs, or she can start moving towards me once again and bring her knee to the floor. And that's when I can go into my easy sweeps. Okay? I take a 2-on-1, she steps that leg up. Now from here, I can take my leg across. From this position, now she has a choice. If she stays here, or if she goes to keep pulling away from me, I go into my partner's legs. If, for example, she goes to come into me, I can go back to a regular butterfly guard and place some engagement from here. Or, as she goes to come towards me, and she goes to, for example, go to lock a body lock and try to strip this grip. She goes to come towards me. We take our partner over and we center through with the Yoko Sumigishi. Okay? Again, Yoko Sumigishis are a little bit more risky and not as common because you only have one leg inside. Okay, so there is a threat of your partner, as you're going to pull your partner in, there is a threat of her just extending by, like hip switch, and passing your guard. That's why you need to have sticky hooks. You only have one foot inside. If my partner with a regular butterfly guard clears one hook, I still have one hook to work with. It's not a big issue. But with a Yoko Sumigishi, you're only working with one hook, so it's more risky. But it can be done. I can use various moves from here where I start coming up into my partner. She goes to push back into me. And then we take our partner over and we're into all of our attacks with sweeps or submissions. Okay, so just some more Yoko Sumigaeshi stuff. This time, instead of having my partner with 2 knees down, as we looked at before, first she goes to shoot by, and from here she goes to come into me. Now this time the leg's up, so it's a little bit different. The one we did before was much harder. This requires her to be really coming into me, trying to pass my guard, which she will be because she's already pretty much outflanked me. So as she goes to come forward, then it makes it easy now for me to start entering into my partner's legs and going into all of my attacks right from there. All right, so this isn't something that I'm going to go into an in-depth explanation of, because I cover this in depth in the Simpine instructional. Okay, but I just want you to understand that if your partner does step a leg up, whether she's standing or on her knees, you can start going into no gi barambolos. Okay, so she steps a leg up from the knees inside. She gets the foot to the inside. You can either, one, play feet inside and go into attacks on your partner's legs, or you can play feet outside. You can willingly take a foot to the outside. Let's say, for example, she's down on 2 knees. I go for a drag. She steps a leg up. I can immediately switch and start going into no gi barambolos, where now I can start to off-balance my partner and start to create more leg entanglements or sweeps or submissions or back takes from there. Okay, so she's on 2 knees. I can go for a drag. I step a leg up like so. Let's say she steps a leg up. I can either go Yoko Sumigaeshi, or I can choose to go in one direction and then swing back in the opposite direction. And now from here, we're into all of our attacks with no gi barambolos, where we come through. And now from here, we're ready to go into all of our different various attacks on our partner. And I cover this in depth, like probably an hour or so of footage on this in the Simpine portion. So just understand, when you're watching the Simpine instructional, I do this from a standing opponent with a foot inside from an outside de la Hiva. But you can also chain these together with a kneeling opponent who steps 1 leg up. Okay, so just so you guys meant to make the mental connection, you can do it from both situations. All right, so now we're gonna look at an opponent who's playing very negative and just, you can't get any grips on them, okay? So she's on her knees, and I just can't make a single grip and keep it for any amount of time. Okay, my partner's way over, her shoulders are way over her hips, and I feel like she's not coming into me at all, she's not doing anything. Whenever I see this, I start to play a pull-push game, where I tuck 1 leg inside and I get ready to start coming into a technical get-up where I roll forward onto my shin. At the same time, I take a cross shoulder post and I just bump my partner's hands to the floor. Okay? I don't like to take cross or single shoulder posts because my partner can just take her thumb post, and as I go to push, I come forwards into her and she moves forwards into a body lock, and that's no good for me. Okay? So I use a cross shoulder post to dominate my partner's entire shoulder line, ranging from one shoulder to the other. So now when I go to push, when she goes to body lock me, she can't. It's impossible. Okay? So I dominate the entire shoulder line. When she goes to clear that arm by, it's not an easy thing to do. Okay? So I can't get any grips on my partner. I have 2 feet inside. I take 1 inside knee, like so. So one of my feet, whether it be right or left, one of my feet come outside. So I exchange the inside foot position to the inside knee position. And now I look to start pushing my partner back and away. This time, as she comes back towards me, now she has to start leaning the shoulders forward. If she gets her shoulders pushed too far back, I just get up and come on top. So in order to not get pushed forward, she has to bring her shoulders forward. And as her shoulders come forward now, she has to start playing here. And that's when I can start going in, taking my drags, taking my 2-on-1s, and going into my attacks. Okay, so I'm trying to pull someone in, and I just feel like I can't do it. She's pulling away. As she pulls away, I start pushing. Now if she doesn't do anything, I get on top. If she comes back into me, that's when I go in, I start taking my drags, I start taking my 2-on-1s, I start taking my collar ties, and I start going into all of my attacks from there. Okay? So you have to be able to pull, push, pull, push. When you pull and she pulls away from you, you push. When you push and she pushes back into you, that's when you pull. Okay, so let's keep that in mind as we're going into getting deep into dealing with people who stall from the knees. All right, so just touching on guard retention stuff before we start to finish stuff out today. I'm going to do a full guard retention instructional eventually for what kind of attacks we can be going into when our partner is actively passing. A lot of the stuff that we did today was just reactions from what my partner could be doing, but it wasn't her progressively working towards a pass and me recovering, fighting back to inside position when she steals it from me and she's close to a pass and going back into attacks and sweeps and submissions. That's a whole nother series. Okay. So just touching on guard retention stuff, I'm always trying to play with some kind of inside position, whether it be with my feet or my upper body. Okay. If I have my feet and my hands inside, there's not really anything my partner can do. Okay. My partner has to fight her way to inside position with the hands, for example, first if she's passing. Okay, so now she has hands inside. Now from here, I lost the upper body battle for inside position. Now she fights a leg to the inside, where she steps a knee inside. Now she flattens me out. Now from here, she has hands inside. She has one leg inside. Now she puts her second leg inside with a butterfly hook. And now from here, she can start climbing up my body. Now she has all the inside position, where from here, now she has two legs inside. So if she stays with double underhooks, for example, she has two hands inside, two legs inside. And now when I go to recover my guard from here, good, she can easily come by and get a pass. All right. So your whole goal, you're playing seated guard versus a kneeling opponent, is to maintain some form of inside position. Whether it's a foot, whether it's a knee, whether it's a hand, whether it's an elbow, I need to have some kind of inside positioning. If I lose all inside position, your partner's going to get passed. Okay? So just touching on guard retention stuff, you have to have some form of inside position, whether it's with your feet, with your knees, with your hands, or with your elbows. Otherwise, you're going to lose that battle. All right. Now, once you've made your way through this instructional, I'm going to show you something that I don't recommend doing until you're an absolute master at playing seated versus standing. Okay? I specifically left this until the end because it's not something I recommend doing unless you're absolutely confident in your ability to time and sweep your partner's foot out. Okay? There are many things that can go wrong from here and not too much of an upside. Okay? The only way that you should be trying this is if you're absolutely confident that you can do it 100% of the time. Okay? What I explained to you in the beginning of this instructional was that if you're seated versus standing and you have an opponent who's right lead forward, you have to be on your right hip with your right leg monitoring your partner's right leg, or your partner's lead leg. If your partner switches to a left leg lead, you have to be in your left hip and you use your left leg to monitor your partner's lead leg. Okay, so what that looks like, once again, is your partner's right leg lead, your right leg forward. Your partner's left leg lead, your left leg forward. This way, that if she's right leg forward, if she takes a cross step, I only know she can go in one direction. It's this way. If she steps in this direction, she exposes her own center line, where now I can go into attacks. If she takes a cross step in this direction, I can easily create back exposure and go into attacks. So I know that she has to either split my legs or pass in this direction. This direction is out. Okay? Now, with that said, what I'm about to tell you is going to go against everything that you've thought until this point. Okay? There's one exception where you can stand left versus right, where she's right leg forward and I'm left lead forward. Okay? Now understand the consequences of doing this. If your training partner is feinting with that lead leg and takes a quick post on your hip, for example, or post on your shoulder and shoots the leg to the outside, now there's back exposure, extreme back exposure on this side. Or she drops to her knees and drops to a side body lock. and now there's back exposure and there's guard passing exposure. A lot of things can go wrong from here. So you have to be absolutely confident in your Diashi Harai in order to play this stance, because there's a lot of things that can happen from here, and it can go south very quickly because she's very mobile standing in front of you. When I stand in this position, left versus right, it's to bait my partner into a cross step. Okay? If she goes in this direction, now she exposes the center line, and I can go into attacks from here. If she takes a cross step in this direction, I have to play with my legs in the wrong position. Normally, she's left leg forward. I play left foot back or right foot back, and my left leg is my lead leg. She switches stances. I stay with the same stance, but I switch my legs. Instead of having left leg forward, I have left leg back. Where now, if she takes a step out in this direction, she'll expose her own center line. So what she wants to do is outflank me in this direction. And because I have a right leg lead, as she goes to outflank me, you can hit a Diashi in that direction. And now from here, you can switch, and as she goes to step again, you can go in shin to shin, and you can recover and switch your stances. You can also make a beautiful pass off, and you'll see this in the rolling footage, where she goes to step, I pass off to this hand. Where now from here, as she goes to step and plant her foot, she gets off balance, and we can get an additional off balance there. So she stands right lead forward, and I stand left lead forward, but with my right leg leading. Now she goes in to take a cross step, we hit an off balance. She goes to hit a cross step, we go in, we hit an off balance. She goes to take a cross step, she takes a correction step around, now we're shin to shin. So there's a few exceptions where your partner's right lead forward and you're on your left hip and vice versa. But you have to understand that you have to be a master at it in order to play this game. Otherwise, it's going to look like this. Your partner's going to stand right lead forward. I'm going to be dilly-dallying around here with the wrong leg forward or trying to do whatever. Your partner's going to immediately just shoot, and next thing you know, your guard's passed. Your back's taken, and you're screwed. Okay? So you have to be confident that when you're here, your partner goes to take a cross step, we immediately off balance our partner and go into all of our attacks. Okay? If you're not confident in that, stick with the rules. She stands up, right lead, right versus right, and left versus left. Okay? But I wanted to throw that in there for you guys because there is that exception, and you're going to see it in the rolling footage, but you have to understand why it's okay, and what the consequences are. All right, so that's it. We finished seated versus a seated guard versus a standing opponent, and we've looked at entrances into the legs and Ashigarami X guard, which is what's going to be covered in Sumpain. Okay, what was supposed to be one instructional originally turned out to be two because it was just going to be way too long. There was going to be too much information and people were going to be skipping around, and it wasn't going to be the correct way to learn. So I think we have about 9 hours, including the rolling commentary for seated, and about 7 hours for Sumpain. So it'll be about 16 hours worth of footage total for OpenGuard in its entirety. All right, so this one was mostly focused on sweeping and entering into Ashigarami X guard, and then the other one is going to be a full explanation on how to sweep from Ashigarami and X guard, Oshiro X guard, reverse X guard, Delahiva, and reverse Delahiva. So there's a lot of information in those as well. This was by far the most stressful and nerve-wracking instructional I've had to film. A lot of complications as far as filming, as far as because we usually film them pretty close together, a week or two. I filmed this the initial moves 3 months ago before the lockdown, and I was trying to remember everything that I've done, trying to plan everything. Then we had to split it to 2 instructionals, so this was just a disaster for me to film. But I truly believe that this is, number one, going to be your favorite one as a viewer because it's so different from anything that anyone's ever seen. And I think this is my best showcase as a teacher as far as teaching instructionals. I believe this is my best one yet. So I really think you guys are gonna, or I'm hoping at least that you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't really have too much else to say than that. Thank you to the BJ Fanatics guys. Thank you to Sunny for filming. This is like probably took us like 20 hours at least to film. Not more than that. It's 16 hours of footage. This probably took us like 40 hours to film. So thank you for being abused that entire time. It would have taken 40. If like you take out her complaining, it would have been 40 hours. So it was probably like more close to 60. But without the complaining, it was around 40 hours just filming. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. You're gonna love the Simpine one as well. Any questions, as always, put it in the BJ Fanatics group on Facebook, and I'll try my best. If I'm not banned, I'll try my best to answer them. If Facebook doesn't kick me off for 30 days like they usually do, or just delete my account for saying something. Yeah, thank you guys so much, and hopefully you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Any last whinings or beatings or?
Tell the
camera.
If I have anything else to say? No. Well, I do complain, yes, because that's a lot information. 5 minutes interval to eat watermelon. Okay. Dealing with this giant guy is hard. And look at this. This is all in between takes. And not enough payment. But no, it was overall very good, very mind-blowing. There's actually too much information to retain. I'm not that smart yet.
Not smart at all.
Excuse me, I really am. I'm trying my best. But thank you guys. I hope you guys buy it so I can buy purses and everything else. Oh, you see, I can never do anything on him because he's such a terrible teacher. Nothing actually really works.
Back to the juji. Go back to the juji.
I can't. Wait.
No, go back to the juji. It's right there. It's right
No,
there.
you just.
Go back to the juji.
Oh my God! Okay.
Oh. Oh.
What is your problem? That was aggressive.
Bye, guys.